And welcome, YouTube viewers, to our daily space weather. Coming at you from the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. And we're taking a look at the sun here, the closest star. The local yellow dwarf, Helios, El Sol, whatever you'd like to call it today. This is 211 angstroms from the Solar Dynamics Observatory. Looking at yesterday and today's activity here. Massive coronal holes moving past the direct Earth-facing zone. We're already seeing some high-speed wind, it looks like, from these South Pole-oriented coronal hole systems. Also, new sunspots rising down here in the southeast. And the likelihood of major flares really very, very high, as we're watching sunspot 3014 and 3017 set in the northwest. So we'll look at the earthly geospace next. This is magnetohydrodynamic pressure around the Earth to about 12 Earth diameters. Magnetohydrodynamic pressure is expressed in nanopascals. We are seeing a little increase here in the solar wind density over the past 24 hours, really. We'll get to it in a moment. That's the last 4 hours. Here's the last 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from the ground, since we showed you it from space. Here it is from the ground level. So again, we've seen a little bit of an uptick here in the solar wind density. It looks like an early onset for a coronal hole high-speed stream. And we'll get to the solar wind data in a moment. Planetary K index at 2. It's a KP2, geomagnetic calm conditions here over the past 3 days. There is a forecast for some geomagnetic unrest late in the day tomorrow on Thursday. That's May 26th, and early in the day, Friday, May 27th. The heck? Okay, that's the beginning is May 20th. Okay, excellent. All right, and let's continue on here to the real-time solar wind. And you can see this little uptick over the past about 16 hours. It's pretty minor, but we saw very low levels there for a moment. Little spike here as well, like a minor coronal mass ejection strike, or maybe even a major cosmic ray strike it could have been. Anyway, current situation is about 5.3 protons per cubic centimeter. That's the solar wind density. Solar wind velocity, 372 kilometers per second. And we should expect to see a more significant signal when a more significant density wave shows up at the front of that coronal hole high-speed stream. Next, the GOES magnetometers over the past 3 days. And as we forecasted yesterday, we are seeing low readings here. A little bit lower readings in the GOES magnetometers. And I can forecast that because I understand how to interpret this data here. So this is one of the many questions not asked. Folks, in science, what happens a lot of times is we end up asking questions about what's going on in nature, and we end up with more questions. And oftentimes we end up with answers to questions not asked. And that's what's happened here. We've realized that this is directly tied to the GOES magnetometers. So anyway, that's the heliospheric current sheet. Earth is just in a South Pole current sheet. There could be some changes coming here as we see major sunspots having risen in the southeast. We'll get to it. We'll show you them here in a moment. And here's a line of sight view. You can see the solar magnetogram there showing lots of magnetic organization, especially with respect to sunspots 3014 and 3017. Next, moving to coronal holes. We'll get to sunspots just after this. You can see those well-defined South Pole-oriented coronal holes. Well, we can expect a major coronal hole high-speed stream in about 3 days from those. There may be some leading-edge high-density waves already coming. Let's take a look at that visually, as they're quite spectacular coronal holes, showing us the solar polar field reversal process. So these are South Pole-oriented coronal holes, as the South solar polar field is migrating to the north, and vice versa with the North Pole, with the North solar polar fields. Great imagery there from the SDO. And there are some coronal mass ejections to cover as well. We'll show those at the end of the video. Next, we'll move to sunspots. Again, we've got two new major sunspot groups rising here in the southeast. One of them's way down here at a very high latitude. In other words, high, like not close to the equator. That would be what we call a low latitude. And what's interesting about this solar cycle is seeing these sunspots at such different latitudes. I think it's associated with Terminator events. Let us know, Scott McIntosh, if you're viewing the video. Drop us a line in the comments. I think Terminator events are associated with seeing sunspots at highly different latitudes. Likelihood of major solar flares very, very high here as we were watching the setting of sunspot 3014 and 3017. Yes, yesterday's thumbnail included the word critical in red letters because, well, it's called forecasting. And sometimes, folks, when you forecast too well, and it causes people to not realize that you forecasted. We are expecting major flares from these groups. They've been underperforming. And again, sunspots are more likely to produce large flares around the limbs. So these are both beta-gamma class sunspot groups, it looks like. At least this one certainly is. And those will be getting named today. They are quite massive. You can see these umbrae up here are larger than the Earth itself. By the time you viewed this on YouTube, we would have already streamed twice to Twitch, so check us out over there. Maybe install the mobile app. The Twitch live streaming platform is so good that we use it on the regs. Every day, that is. Twitch.tv/SmashoMash. The mobile app will actually alert you when we go live, unlike some mobile applications for video streaming and video uploading platforms. Now let's show you what you get on SmashoMash.com/SmashTeam. On SmashoMash.com/SmashTeam, if you click Posts, you'll see all of our posts. All of our posts for your login level. So if you're at the gold level, you'll see more stuff than if you're at the silver level, and so on. Bronze level sees even less, but everybody sees these posts, our major video releases. So there's our BitChute Meteorology exclusive. There's YouTube's video from yesterday. And there are our 2 Twitch live streams. We've been doing 3 daily space weather videos per day to compartmentalize the content, and we'll have to stop right there as we're explaining the solar cycles and the mechanism underlying it for our Gold Smash Team members. So before the paper even gets submitted for peer review, we'll be showing the information to you, our Gold level members. If you'd like to pick up merch and give Smash staff a raise, consider picking up the Galactic Federation Special Forces merch, which proclaims our motto, Universum Liberate. The symbolism depicts a lightning bolt, which represents instantaneous galactic scale reach. The key represents signal strength and security. And the spiral represents the Milky Way galaxy. Milky Way galaxy team for the win. Do you yearn for freedom and liberty? Well, it seems to be a common thread here on planet Earth. And so we've incorporated the powers of the Galactic Federation Special Forces to say to each of you, Universum Liberate. Tell your friends and foes it's a conversation starter, perhaps. Make the galaxy not suck again. As the Galactic Federation Special Forces do, join us and call out our motto, Universum Liberate. You can find links to that on the homepage at SmashoMash.com, right there on Smasho merch. The Smash team is also linked there. Welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. You can find our social media on our homepage, a permanent invite to our Discord chat. You need an invite to join a Discord chat. Again, welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. Support the channel by clicking our links and by becoming a member of the Smash team, most importantly. If you want to know the mechanism underlying the solar cycles, and that's sunspot and solar polar field reversal cycles, become a member of the Smash team at the gold level. It's $9.99 a month. There's also a paid-up subscription option, and that's the best value. It'll entitle you to some complimentary merch featuring the Smash Team logo. I don't know what else to tell you. Besides, you'll get the information before anybody else. And let's look at the proton flux here. It's flatlined. Don't be surprised to see a spike in this if we see some major solar flares, and the likelihood is very high. So there's the X-ray flux over the past 3 days. We've only seen one C4 class level flare, one C4 level flare there, happening late in the day yesterday on May 24th. We're expecting M or even X class flares as solar sunspot 3014 and 3017 set up here in the northwestern limb. So some new activity also rising in the north. We've been seeing some prominences up in this area, but 2 new sunspot groups to get named today as solar cycle 25 continues to tick upward. Where's the limit? Well, we have no idea. And if you want to see conjecture about it, follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/smashamash. We put up a post yesterday inviting everybody to conjecture about what the maximum sunspot value will be for solar cycle 25, which isn't expected to happen for about 2 years. Next, we've brought up a star chart as we do daily. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn all rising ahead of the sun. Also the moon up there near the ecliptic. That's what's going on above my head here in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. And this star chart is derived from in-the-sky.org. That's the all-sky chart. While we're doing astrography, here's where things are located in the solar system. We'll show you a 1-week forecast as well. Here's where things will be in a week. We're approaching a new moon here. Once again, shout out to all my reverse werewolves, productive members of society who are good people, and they sleep at night, and they are awake during the daytime, and they don't eat people. What up, reverse werewolves? New moon is coming. And let's take a look at some coronagraphs here. These are not earthly directed coronal mass ejections. As far as we can tell, they certainly do not appear to have earthly directed components. That's just today so far. We'll show you some more in-depth imagery here from Stereo A's coronagraph and from the Soho Lasco C3. So this is the Soho Lasco C2. Here's the Soho Lasco C3 on the right. From this perspective, Earth would be behind you. That's at Lagrange point 1. Stereo A is at Lagrange point 4. Scratch that. It's at Lagrange point 5. All right. Lagrange 5 is where Stereo A is located. It trails the Earth orbitally speaking. So from this perspective, Earth would be off in this direction. We don't see any coronal mass ejections headed toward the Earth at the moment. So that's some more in-depth coronagraph imagery for you. Again, likelihood of major solar flares about as high as it gets. Because once again, sunspots are more likely to produce flares around the limbs than in the direct Earth-facing portion of the solar disk. We'll close out today's YouTube-exclusive daily space weather video with this composite imagery. This shows the colorized magnetogram as well as 171 angstroms. Again, we've got some more likely sunspots rising back here someplace in the northeastern limb. 2 new sunspot groups rising down here in the southeastern limb. The setting of sunspot 3014 and 3017 are likely to be accompanied by major solar flares. Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Space Weather, the main feature of the Smash News Network, Least Busted Name in News. Don't forget to press like, subscribe, share, etc. We'll see you next time. May that solar wind be at your back.